Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Buckle up. I got a juicy one for you today. You guys, I'm reading The House of Beckham. Do you know about this book? Let me tell you. It's the new one by Tom Bower. If you're like, hey, that name sounds familiar. Of course it is, because he wrote, say it with me, Revenge, one of my favorite books that takes down Meghan and Harry, especially Meghan. And so now he's got this new book out. Now let me say this. I am Team Beckham, meaning I love David and Victoria. I am a woman of a certain age. I grew up with the Spice Girls. I've always had a crush on David Beckham, who does not, right? So I will not be talking negatively about the Beckhams, but I am reading it. And today I'm going to go into the juicy part all about Meghan and Harry and their awfulness. And it is juicy, and I'm excited to share it with you. So here's what I'm thinking. This part is going to be dedicated to just the Harry and Meghan bits. But if you're interested, please comment below and let me know if you want me to recap the whole book. I can do that. Know that I am Team Victoria and David. I'm rooting for them. I always have been. I have such a love and respect for both of them, the hard work and the success and everything, as well as learning about him standing in line for so many hours to pay respects to the Queen. He had the chance to skip. He did not take that chance. I respect the hell out of him for that. There's so many reasons to respect them. That's just one of many. Anyway. So I will not be, even if we read it, I can't go super negative on them. I just can't. I grew up with the Spice Girls. Tell me which really, really want. I want to talk about David and Victoria. So tell me if you want me to recap that book. But for now, we are skipping ahead to talk about the Harry and Meghan parts because they are juicy. And I'm excited to talk about this with you guys. I'm Jen. Honk, honk, everyone. The chapter that we're getting into is chapter 28, Warfare. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's juicy. I'm excited. Okay, so it goes into how over the previous years, Beckham had met Prince Harry at celebrity functions and at social occasions. They were also neighbors at Oxfordshire. Now, I'd forgotten Harry had rented this converted barn thing. I remember reading about that. It was, I believe, because Meghan needed a place to get away to. You know, it's really hard, right? Oh my God. Just think about that. 72 engagements, only with the royal family a very short time, but it was already too hard. She needed a place to get away. Okay. They were neighbors. They knew each other, but it wasn't too long. According to Tom Bower, Meghan started to, quote, put on airs. The whole thing with this is it sounds like, and everything else I've read, Meghan acted like she's way too good for David and especially Victoria, it sounds like. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, okay, Meghan and I are around the same age, depending on what age you believe she is. If I'm going by what her brother said, we're around the same age. And I was there. The Spice Girls are huge, right? I love Victoria Beckham. So I'm just like, well, who do you think you are? You're a nobody. That happened to be background on a show that some people knew of, and you think you're better than Victoria Beckham. Okay. Goodness gracious, that tells me a lot right there. But he goes into how she thought she could relate to Victoria because Meghan considered herself, you ready for this? Try to hold in your laughter. A fashionista. Let me say that again. A fashionista. She thought she was a fashionista. I just want you to think about that while we look at some of her worst fashion choices. Well, it sounds to me like Victoria was trying to be nice and reached out via her staff and tried to give Meghan some advice. And by the way, I love Tom Bower because he calls Meghan Harry's fiance. And you know she hates that. Harry's fiance. Offered Harry's fiance some advice. Some advice on the best facials and hairdressing in London. And then Meghan then asked Victoria, according to Tom Bower, I'm on page, I'm stalling to find it, 276. Because I know where this is going. Asked Victoria to supply, quote, free clothes and handbags. Do you remember the Duchess discount thing we learned about? That's a thing they're not supposed to do. You wouldn't catch Catherine doing things like that. Asking for a Duchess discount. That's what she called it, according to the other books we read. But yeah, she, here on this page is asking for Victoria to supply free clothes and handbags. Can you imagine? Her request was vetoed by the palace for being, again, against their rules. But despite that, and unknown to the public, when Meghan privately returned to Los Angeles, she stayed in the Beckham's house in Beverly Hills. This was something I had heard about as well. I kind of had a source that kind of knew some of the circles here and was telling me much the same. That it was all a fight over staying at this house and free things. I mean, we all have this source, right? We've all heard this story. But it's not that I had some deep, dark information, but I had heard similar things, that it was like Meghan was trying to take advantage of the situation. But according to Tom Bower, what it was she was using this excuse that she had to avoid the paparazzi. Everybody's after her. She stayed there, and it sounds like, from what I'm understanding, she paid nothing. All her needs were secretly provided for by the staff, the Beckham staff. It was just complete taking advantage of her new status, right? It sounds like the Beckhams were completely lovely and completely put up with this crap. I wish more people would speak out. I know they're too classy, and I know David maintains a friendship. Prince William and, of course, King Charles. We'll see some pictures of that coming up. Believe me, I can't stand looking at some of these Meghan pictures either, so we will switch to that. But I think it's important to show these for right now, by the way, of her and Victoria. So she's trying to take advantage of her new status here, and the Beckhams were completely lovely, it sounds like. Well, then the Sun apparently reported on how Victoria had given Meghan some makeup advice. And that's when the relationship completely went south, or according to Tom, it crashed. So Harry was allegedly ordered to complain to David. I like how that was worded. Ordered to. The telephone conversation took place. Beckham was embarrassed, but after speaking to his wife, denied that she leaked any information. And I bring up, of course, who was the more famous person? It was Victoria. What am I saying? I'm saying, what is Meghan thinking? She's not thinking. She's only thinking about herself. She can't stand that Victoria's the more famous one. She had to take advantage, in my opinion, and then find a reason to distance herself or make herself a victim. In this case, it's to claim that Victoria was leaking things. But I'm sorry. What motivation would Victoria have to leak things? Sounds like that a beautician was blamed for the leak, but then Tom Bower alleges that it was probably some sort of boastful publicist that was trying to stir up something. Who knows? Who cares? It wasn't Victoria. Again, I go back to Victoria was the bigger star here. Meghan is just, a star in her own mind. My favorite part of this section comes on 277. He calls her a seasoned operator and explains that she deluded herself into thinking that her status in the royal family would place her above Victoria in the social pecking order. So she was irritated to discover that the Beckhams had considerably more wealth than herself. That's what I think too. I think she had herself convinced that Harry had all this access to unlimited funds. They could do whatever. And she thought that's what her life would be like. But Bower points out they owned 5 homes, had constant access to private jets, invitations to sail on yachts, and much, much more money. And Meghan was just a, quote, soon-to-be Duchess. But then it gets more interesting because, of course, Meghan's in Harry's ear, it sounds like, telling him, no, Victoria was mean to me and leaked and all this stuff. So, of course, Harry springs into action being an ass. Has no balls. But then it sounds like he was also irritated because, of course, Beckham is friends with Prince William. So it goes back to about 2010. It sounds like it was a bid for the World Cup. I don't follow sports. I don't care. Apparently, that's when Beckham and William enjoyed an especially good relationship. Of course, you got Dumb and Dumberton complaining about everything, unequal status and wealth compared to the Cambridges. It sounds like Harry took special offense to the sight of Bex hanging out with William. He found it very annoying. So it's pointed out that for the spectacle, aka the Sussex wedding, Meghan was wanting to punish the Beckhams. While they were invited to the wedding, and we've seen the pictures, they ended up not inviting them to the dinner. It's an insult, right? I've said the same thing. I heard the same about her Suits cast. I just find that so rude. You're invited to come watch us get married, but you are not invited to celebrate along after. I just find that completely obnoxious. I know it's a thing. I have people write me in the comments, oh, it's a thing. You can go to the wedding and not the other. I just find that obnoxious. I would never. If I can't have you at my reception, I'm not having you at my wedding, because to me, what I think of is, oh, you just want me there to bring a gift. Or in Meghan's case, in Harold, you just want these celebrities here to have their names by your name when it's reported on. As a reminder, George Clooney even talked about not knowing Meghan, but it sounds like they were invited in. David and Victoria knew them and were not invited to the dinner. But they said that Victoria purposely put on a, quote, sour expression, and David was chewing gum to show disdain. And I love that that's his protest, because he still seems like a super nice guy. Look at him here greeting people. I think that's wonderful. He's welcome to come to my wedding and chew gum. And it should be mentioned that around this time, before all the weirdness, it sounds like Harry had actually asked David to come to Invictus in Sydney. It would have been that October. David instantly agreed, and he planned to take Victoria and the 4 children to go. I bring this up because, well, we kind of lose Harry and Meghan for a little bit, so let's jump ahead. If you're reading along with me, I'm still in chapter 20. It's about page 284 when we get to the Invictus itself. So they arrive in Sydney as planned. I'm not going to go into, again, I can do a separate video where I actually recap this book. It sounds like there were issues between David and Victoria, allegedly. I will not trash them. Allegedly around this time. So there was some stuff going on with the press and them around this time. Okay, so I think he's pointing that out to say it was a tough time for them. They were just having a tough time. Okay, as all people do. She allowed herself to be photoed with a bottle of beer labeled Victoria Bitter. I think that's pretty funny. I like her sense of humor very much. Here's a pertinent part. Beckham arrives at the agreed upon date. They said he arrived by himself, but I found these pictures. It looks like the kids came. This may have been a different day, but this was the Invictus Games. All hell broke loose, meaning he doesn't understand why these officials are sent to tend to him, to deal with him, to keep him away from Harry. This was something that Harry had asked him to do. This was a favor he was doing for Harry, to show up to these games. He was having to ask, where the hell is it? Where's Harry? And the games officials were basically dancing around it. And Beckham wanted to know, rightly so, when will I meet him? And he's unaware that what happened is, according to Bauer, Dum Dum was ordered that under no circumstances was Bex allowed to be near him. Photographs of the two were forbidden. So the royal snub was brutal. David Beckham didn't understand and was completely puzzled. Why was Hasnoballs refusing to meet with him after inviting him there? He made the big trek to get out there, brought his whole family, and then was being kept from him. Well, it turns out, as you can imagine, the exclusion order, well, it was issued by Meghan. She didn't want any competition in the media from Beckham, and especially, according to Tom, not from Victoria. I believe that wholeheartedly. She would never be able to compete, so of course she wanted them kept separate. But as awful as Meghan is, and she is awful, and she is threatened by everybody, especially women, it sounds like, I'm going to say Hasnoballs is awful, because too effing bad, Meghan. He should have stood up to her. He should have done the right thing and talked to Beckham for coming out to support his, it's not his cause, but you know what I mean, the cause that he's promoting. It just infuriates me to read this stuff. Now, I do have to say that I love that Tom Bauer, again, because there will be people that read this book and not Revenge, so they don't know. So he goes in to remind everyone, oh yeah, it was also during this time that Meghan was formally being accused of bullying back in the with the London staff, as well as allegedly throwing a cup of tea during this Australian tour. So thank you, Tom, for letting everybody know. If you couldn't stand her before, now you know why. And Tom finishes this part off by reminding us all that Harry and Meghan were constantly searching the internet for critical comments about themselves. They were not happy to read anything flattering in the media about the Beckhams. Anybody else think that's exactly what they're still up to? Because I sure do. Hi, Meghan and Harry. Okay. The next interesting chunk of Harry and Meghan stuff continues on in chapter 29 on page 294. Okay, we're in the year 2019. We're talking about Victoria's fashion design company. Her designs were doing well, and it caught Meghan Markle's attention. So Victoria, again, I really like her. Everything I've read, I really like her. And so she was really kind about it. Even though Meghan had been a complete bitch to her, stayed at her house. Sounds like she was threatened by Victoria's success and attention and all that. And I'm guessing like happy marriage, all that stuff. Totally threatened by that. And didn't want the press to talk about Victoria. It's a whole thing. Okay. Well, she still wanted to use Victoria. And Victoria, according to Tom Bauer here, agreed. So she allegedly provided a coat, a dress, some boots, and a purse. And they figured the total was around 6,000 pounds. So I did some digging, and this is the outfit. The one where I said it looked like she had scissors taped to the side of her head. This is the outfit, right? Imagine that you're Victoria Beckham. You design these fabulous outfits, and then you see it on Meghan, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Why? Maybe get it tailored. Maybe make it fit a little better. And this isn't even the worst of Meghan's outfits, clearly, but I'm just saying, like, oh, why? So later, Meghan ended up wearing a Beckham custom-made pregnancy outfit. Do with that what you will. A white coat and dress for service in Westminster Abbey. I call this one Nurse Ratched. This is the best part. I am on page 293. Tom explains that there was no financial benefit. Nil. The only success in 2019 was a handbag that had been displayed. It was Victoria's Instagram video that prompted the sales. But it was pretty big losses, they thought. So there was no benefit of giving Meghan these clothes, 6,000. Okay, here's my question, and my first thought was, anybody else wonder if Meghan turned this into the king as far as the expenses goes? That was the deal. She turned in things and then allegedly would maybe keep, hypothetically, the money. So I just wonder, anybody else think, oh, I hope King Charles's people get a wind of this and go back and look at the books. Did she turn in? Did Victoria charge her for this? It doesn't sound like she did. Did Meghan pay for it? It doesn't sound like she did. And if so, did she? If she got it for free, did she turn in a receipt for 6,000 pounds and collect the money anyway? And finally, the last story that I could find about Harry and Meghan comes on page 325. It's chapter 33, Qatar. And it explains that the year was 2022. This will make you love David Beckham. So in the middle of this competition, it's World Cup. He ended up flying 15 hours, 7,600 miles from Qatar to Boston to join Prince and Princess of Wales to celebrate Earthshot. So he was photographed, kissing Catherine on the cheek and hugging William. And he did this all, and then he flew right back 15 hours. He just did it to support William and Catherine. It was the same day that Harry and Meghan were seeking to wow Americans in New York. But of course, they were completely overshadowed by what was going on in Boston and the fact that Beckham had flown round trip to support William that quickly and then right back to his competition. Isn't that incredible? It makes me love David even more. And Bauer points out Beckham got his revenge for the Sydney snub. Sydney snub, that's hard to say, for the Invictus Games. I think that's wonderful. It made me appreciate David even more, and that is a wonderful way to end this book. Guys, that's it. Let me know your thoughts. I'm dying to know. I enjoyed these parts so much, and I thought it was pretty juicy. And I'm dying to know your thoughts. And again, let me know if you want me to recap this whole book. I'm completely up for it, knowing, of course, that I will be biased and continue to love David and Victoria Beckham. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you, as always, for watching. I appreciate it so much. I hope you enjoyed this, too. Let me know everything. Leave me comments. I love reading those. And I can't wait to bring you more stuff like this. I truly hope you all have the best day. And I'll talk to you again soon. Let me know what you thought of this book. Okay, bye-bye.